Isn't technology great? We can do this from anywhere, anytime. And folks, that's the wonderful thing about our business. We literally teach people how to run this business, from an RV if they want to, traveling down the road. As long as you've got an internet connection, and you can get that just about anywhere nowadays, you can run this business helping doctors to collect their money, the money
You
that's due
bet.
them from the insurance companies.
You
So
bet.
anyway, that's what this is all about.
Well,
And
Patrick,
today
tell
we're
us
going
a
to talk
little bit
about the
about
money
the.
that you can make.
Yeah. Well, tell us. Speaking of the money, we put a chart up here. Now we've used this chart from time to time. It hasn't varied too terribly much from when you and I first started using this, but there's a lot of things we can talk about this one chart here. But share with us a little bit about the money and really where ABS fits in this pie. Where are we going after doctors here?
Well, as you can see, folks, there's a lot of money to be had in the $614 billion industry. Eric, I think that's like 1/20th of our entire economy. And
Yes.
so it's a great big chunk of money that's out there. Now, as you can see, we divide that into several different ways there that can be collected. That is, you've got home health care, nursing care, prescription drugs, even dental services are in there. Hospital is the biggest, 32%, and then physician and clinical, which is where that's our key market right there, is 20% of that market. So even 20% of 614 billion is just a big, big piece of the pie, folks. All you need is just a slice that's tinier than anything you see on the screen there to make a really good income.
Yeah, and so as Patrick brought out there, I know a lot of people, Patrick, let's just go ahead and talk about this. A lot of people ask, can we do dental billing with our current software? So you want to kind of talk a little bit about that, what they can and maybe what they're not able to do?
Well, the answer is yes. You can do billing for dentists if that's what you want. But folks, look how small a slice that is. It's only 4% of the entire market. And if you think about it, Eric, I don't know about you, but I don't have dental insurance. Most
I
people
believe
don't have any kind of insurance that covers dental, at least not the expensive stuff. And and you go into a dentist's office, they don't have near the number of patients coming through because, well, let's face it, nobody wants to go to the dentist, and we don't
Right.
think we have to go until we, have teeth that are hurting. So it's just not a big market. Why would you devote any time at all to dental billing when you can do the billing for doctors at such a big slice of the pie there? So I say
Yeah.
go sign up all the doctors in your area, and then if there's any time you have left over in your week, you could go sign up some dentists as well if you
You
wanted to.
bet. Yeah, you bet. And folks, if you need to do some dental billing, we do have some resources for that as well. So I want to let people know because we know that there's other business opportunities that sell kind of a package that's close to ours, and they may say that we can't do dental billing, but they can. But we do have the resources for folks if they really do want to do some dental billing. We can actually do that.
Yeah,
Um,
but Eric, it's a whole different ball
yeah,
game. It's a
it really
different,
is.
yeah, it's not the same forms. Dentists usually have to have X-rays attached to their forms, and so it's just a completely different animal. And we just tell people focus on the thing that's going to make you the most money in any industry, and then go after the side incomes, if you want to call it that, when you have all the other market wrapped up.
Yeah, I think you make a very, very good point because really, if you think about I'll go right back to that slide there because if we look at hospital billing and physician billing and dental billing, that's really like three different types of industries altogether because they're different. They're all different. That's why we focus in on that 20% because hospital billing, it may take you a year and a half to 2 years just to try to sign up a hospital, let alone even trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, you
And
get the boards of directors, all the red tape, and usually hospitals have spent already hundreds of thousands of dollars
yes,
on their billing systems and their billing staff. So it's not as easy to go in. Not that you couldn't do that. Again, we have, our software will allow you to do that, but we just don't focus on that because that's not your key market. It's much easier to sign up a small doctor's office with one or two or three or four, even 5 or 6 doctors than it would be to sign up a hospital.
well, Patrick, tell us about this entrepreneur book. And I think it's kind of special because not only
Yeah.
do for us here at ABS, but I mean, people, if you want to, you could go to Amazon and go pick up this book. It's called Entrepreneur. They got different divisions called Start Up Your Own, whatever it might be. This one's in medical claims billing service, and you can learn some things about that. I think Patrick went over to his bookshelf over there.
Here, I've got a
copy. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you can actually order this book on Amazon. It's I don't know, about $20, and it's a great overview. We tell people if you want to learn more about the medical claims billing service business, this is a good startup, because Entrepreneur's been around for what, 40 years.
Right.
And so what they say is good stuff. It's not enough, unfortunately, for you to really do it on your own, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about marketing to doctors, for example, that's not in this book. But we got this quote here that I thought was interesting, Eric, that the market for medical claim billers is growing exponentially. Now, this is not us saying this. This is Entrepreneur Magazine publishing the book. And with legions of providers and an ever-expanding patient pool, healthcare industry spending is expected to grow by 5.8% each year through 2024. That's a huge growth rate for any industry, Eric.
You bet. Yeah. So we've got several good big years ahead of us. And then, I mean, it keeps going on. It talks about there's no sign of it look like it's slowing down. We're talking $5.43 trillion, and it's just huge. So it's big. But I wanted you to get your book out there, because I know you got your video there. And I thought it was very interesting when we got the book, you ordered the book, that it has some resources in the back. And one of the resources that Entrepreneur Magazine pointed to is a business opportunity with American Business Systems. They don't list any other business opportunity.
In the back of the book, it's right here where they list us as a resource for medical claims software clearinghouses and business opportunities.
Yes.
And we didn't even know it was in here till we actually bought a copy of the book and go, whoa, there we are, first one listed there.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
and not only the first one, but I don't even know if some of the other ones are even still in business. But folks, if you want to go check it out.
Yeah, some of them are not even in business. I went and searched for them. So even though this book just came out, I think maybe a year before last, it's a changing industry. We've been around for 25 years.
You bet.
That's because we know what we're doing, and our licensees are successful at going out and signing up the doctors. So
you bet. Now, folks.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was not in the room when you were kind of introducing the whole thing, but I didn't know if you had actually told people that they could ask questions during the webinar in the question box.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to let everybody know, because I think there's just a few more people that signed up over there in the question box area. But folks, we want to remind you that if there's a question that you would like to ask Patrick and me, feel free to do that. This is your hour, so let's take full advantage of it. I'm kind of watching that. So I'm going to kick this off, Patrick. So Patrick, can I earn back my investment working from home in healthcare? I think that's one of the big things that we need to address, because obviously, the $26,990, let's call it $27,000. It's just under $30,000 there for the investment. And that's for a lot of people. I mean, obviously that's a good chunk of change, and we got to figure out and help folks. How do you get that investment back into their pocket?
Yeah, it's all about return on investment, right? When you start any business, and folks, if most businesses, if they are still if they get to the black ink from the red ink within 2 years, they're doing great.
Yes.
A lot of our licensees, as you'll hear from the interviews that I do with licensees, have gotten them back within, the first few months of being in this business. It doesn't take a lot, as you're going to see today, to earn all your money back that you've invested in this business with one client.
One client. Yeah, and we're going to kind of talk about that, of showing you, I think in comparison to other business opportunities, Patrick. I mean, we've been in this sphere of business opportunities and franchises for quite some time. We know that there are other franchises out there that are sometimes double the amount, if not triple the amount, as an investment, and it takes a little bit longer to get that money back. And then it takes multiple clients or other things that you might be doing to get that. So
I had a friend who wanted to make a six-figure income starting his own business. So he bought a Subway franchise. And he found out real soon after that, I don't guess he did his research because he found out that he had to have like four or five locations. Now he's got 5. Can you imagine working 5 different Subway locations, working with teenagers who can't even clean their own rooms?
That's even hard to imagine. First of all, hey Patrick, since we asked for questions, we just got one here from David, and I thought this is a great question. I think this is, again, we want to make this webinar about you being on the webinar today. So David's asked, what support does the head office, I'm assuming, here at ABS, what does the support here at ABS provide to your franchisees / what we call licensees? So what does this support look like, Patrick?
Well, a few years back, we just offered 1-year support, meaning we would support you in any aspect of the business, marketing, technology, whatever help you needed for a year. And then after that, there was a renewal fee. And then I stretched that to 2 years. And at one point, I sat down with the staff, including you, Eric. You remember that meeting where I said, guys, why would we not support our licensees, since we make money on the back end from the fees that the doctors are paying to access our system each month? Why would we want to cut that off? Why don't we just offer lifetime support? So now we offer unlimited support as long as you need it, whenever you need it. I started to say 24/7. We do have support on our licensee website 24/7, but we're here literally Central Time about 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, of course, for phone support. But yeah, and it's unlimited in whatever you need. In fact, we've got coaches that can hold your hand until you get that first client. Whatever it takes to be successful, we're there. And we've got trainers that will train you and the doctor's staff on how to use our system once you sign up a doctor. So folks, there's every aspect that you can imagine, including the marketing support, which is important to get going.
You bet. I just saw another question coming here, but before we ask that question, Josh, I'm going to get to some other questions, because we don't want to get off too far off track here, but the question I just asked Patrick, can you get your investment back from working from home in healthcare? And the answer is yes, but let's look at these other 3 questions, and then Josh, we're going to get to yours here in just a second. First of all, Patrick, why would a doctor even want to outsource to me? I mean, that's a good question for folks to, you want to even kind of start tackling that one here real quickly?
Yeah, I used to ask that question myself. When my wife got started, it was actually a friend of ours who had a durable medical equipment company. He rented out hospital beds and oxygen, wheelchairs, and things like that, and had to bill Medicare. So he asked my wife to start doing the billing. We started doing the billing for that organization. And then another doctor that knew this friend called us up and said, hey, I understand you're doing the billing for John. Can you do the billing for me as well? And I thought, why would a doctor reach out and have an external company do their billing when obviously they could have software in their own office and staff members who could do it themselves? But Eric, as we've learned over the years, that's not a doctor's specialty. They're not necessarily the best business people in the world. It is a business, a practice is a business, but they don't understand that how important it is to stay on top of the revenue. And if they don't, they can leave a lot of money on the table each month.
Well, I think it was just 2 weeks ago, I think you were interviewing Dr. Vicki Rackner. And I think even though this quote here from the New England Journal of Medicine that says about 24 cents out of every dollar is wasted on administrative billing and billing expenses, I think this number is actually going up from there. And it just keeps escalating up, and it's making it even more difficult for doctors.
Yeah, and we tell people, look, what you're doing is you're billing for the doctor to the insurance companies and to Medicare, and for the money that's collected, you get a percentage of that. It's usually somewhere between 5 to 8%, but let's say it's even 6%. Well, look, if the doctors are paying 24 cents out of every dollar for administrative and billing, and you're only charging 6%, you see the difference there. It's 1/4 of the cost. Yes. So we literally can save doctors money by outsourcing, and we bring in more money than they do because, well, that's what you do all day long. It's not just for that doctor, but for other doctors as well. Whereas the doctor's staff, really, Eric, they don't have much motivation.
Right.
Those people that work inside the doctor's office, the pay is the same no matter what they collect, right?
Well, yes, you're right. And then you add this on top of it. And I don't think a lot of people even think about this. I know we're asking the question, why would a doctor want to outsource this out if there's 24 cents of administrative costs that are just trying to happen right there in the doctor's office? Then you've got claims that are being submitted. The doctor's paying someone's salary to submit these claims, but these claims keep coming back now, as we can see here, rejected.
Yeah, and people don't realize how high that can be. We found doctors that have a 50, 60% rejection rate. Now, true, they will try to get some of those claims back through once they're rejected at first, but a lot of them don't get worked on the back end. And so again, they just write that off at the end of the year. Well, they'd rather have that money in their bank account. Imagine you running a business, you bill $100 and you only collect 70 of that, and you just say, well, I don't need that other 30.
Right.
Well, that's what doctors are doing. Our licensees can get up to 98% of that money collected for the doctors. And when I say collected, it's really our system just does it. It's not like you're getting on the phone and doing any kind of collection calls or anything. Our system is collecting 98% of the money for doctors. Our rejection rate, in other words, is less than 2%.
Yeah.
Compare that with an average of about, what is it, about 34%, I think, on average. That
I wanted to show this. Here's an article that came out. I mean, it's been 3 years ago, but this is pretty much still the same numbers, that it could be up as high as 35% or even higher if they're using archaic type of billing systems out there. So, you know, it can be very, very, you know, the doctors can't, they get to that point where they just don't know what they need to do. And, but you know,
what happens, Eric, is they have checks coming in from the insurance companies and Medicare every day, probably a different check, you know, from a different company. So they go, oh yeah, I've got cash flow, I've got money coming in. What they don't realize is that they've only got about 70% of the money coming in that they could be collecting. And so when we bring that up for a doctor, well, that's where we save them money and make them money, and it's a win-win situation. It's like selling, you know, popsicles in the Sahara Desert.
Well, you talk about popsicles in the Sahara Desert. It's after our folks that are getting involved with us here. It's after they do this, what this we're showing right here, which is called a practice analysis, which is creates this discovery of really what's going on, that kind of that forensic look at what's really happening with that doctor's office. And as you can see on the right-hand side, you take the data from the questionnaire and you put it in this report, and you know, you get what the numbers you see there below.
Yeah, Eric, let's kind of focus on that report just for a second, because people don't realize it. I know that's tiny on your screens, folks, but if you want to blow up the image or whatever you need to do there to see that, bottom line for this doctor, we're going to bring in another, I got to blow it up to see, is it $321,000 increase in their revenue, because they were only, their rejection rate was about 18%. We got it down to 2%.
17.8%, let's see, 18%, but we're going to increase it another 18% on top of that. That's another $26,000 a month extra by just getting things tightened up there.
And think about what that does, Eric. People ask us all the time if some of the people that work inside the doctor's office are going to lose their jobs. Well, there might be a part-time high school student or something, maybe, but most of the time they reallocate the time for those people, full-time people, to helping the doctor see more patients and deal with the patients more effectively. That increases the revenue for the doctor right there, because they're getting to see more patients in a day's time, because those people are not bogged down in all that paperwork.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we just answered this first question: why would a doctor even want to outsource to me? Patrick, I thought before we hit that next question there that we look at this, let's see if there's some more questions that have come in here, and there has. There is a question here from David. It looks like David's asked a question: is there a lot of competition in the industry? For example, are there other independent medical billing companies out there?
Well, yeah, it's just like any business. If you opened up an insurance company office in your city, are there other insurance agents in your city? Yes, thousands of them probably. Same way with real estate or financial planners. there's competition in any business, but folks, the key is having something that is so unique that it's like your competition doesn't even exist.
Right.
And as you'll see, we have things specifically unique to our system that it just blows the competition out of the water.
Yeah, blows.
By the way, I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hey, we kind of skipped Josh's. You maybe do like I did. I scrolled up and it disappeared there, but I see Josh's question that you mentioned earlier. What's the learning curve on the healthcare codes?
Yes.
Now, folks, people get bogged down in those codes because everybody knows there's some kind of codes involved in doing medical billing. There's diagnostic codes, there's procedure codes, but folks, you don't have to worry about that. You certainly don't have to take a course in coding. We have certified medical coders that can help you and the doctor if you get stuck on anything. But the codes are all built into our cloud-based system so that the doctor sees the codes that they need to choose from right there in the system on their iPad when they're using our electronic healthcare record system. And then it goes right into your system for the billing. And so there may be a question now and then that you have to ask the office by email or the internal communication system in our system. But other than that, the codes are not what you need to focus on. Don't let anybody fool you into thinking you got to go to college and learn all those codes. You don't.
Well, that was a. I'm gonna. There was one question that came in right before this one, but Shandalin asked, do you have to be certified, or do you have to be certified at all? You don't have to be, but guess what? One of the things you get with us here, you actually become a certified medical revenue manager. So yes, that's something that's very good to ask, but it's not, it's not required. But whenever you go through our live training workshop and you get that certification as a certified medical revenue manager, Patrick, they get to put those initials at the end of their name, CRMC, certified medical revenue. I got to get it. CMRM at the end of their name, and the doctors, we can reference that to the organization that actually gets them certified for that.
Yeah, there's an organization that we started several years back called the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. And you can go out to their website, MRMA.org, and you'll find out that we certify anybody that comes through our workshop through that organization. So they have as much certification that anybody needs. Folks, there is no official government certification for medical billing. So any school or organization out there that wants to certify you, they can. The problem is that they don't certify you they certify you in medical billing, not in medical revenue management. So we cover every aspect of the doctor's revenue and teach you how to manage that. Thus, a CMRM.
There you go. One more question.
Eric is a CMRM.
That's it. Yeah, you bet. And then last question here that we've got here from Lynn: does the charge to doctor's office include appeal for the rejection until doctor gets paid? Lynn, I think I got what your question is, because we were talking about the rejected claims. The way our system works, it's the doctor doesn't get charged for these claims that are not paid until obviously it gets paid by the insurance company. So as a revenue manager here, they're not getting dinged on that. Unlike if they've got an employee, they're paying that employee whether that doctor's getting paid or not. So hopefully that helps make a little bit better sense that you don't charge the doctor until the doctor gets paid.
That's right. And doctors would rather it be that way because you have a real motivation, you see, for collecting the maximum amount of money for the doctor because you get a percentage of that. As I said earlier, the people in the office just get their hourly wage or whatever it is that they get for doing their job each day. And really, they probably think the doctor drives too fancy a car as it is.
Of course. Well, let's ask this next question here, because these are the three big questions that we're kind of tackling this afternoon. What will I do to earn a living in healthcare? So we thought we would kind of show you a little bit about this. This is kind of the fun part, Patrick, of just kind of seeing how this whole thing flows here. Obviously, you mentioned earlier that we have a little bit different, unique type of platform than what doctors' offices are accustomed to currently. You want to kind of share a little bit about the way that our system works here?
The key part right there that you're seeing in this graphic, folks, is that the clearinghouse is not a third-party entity that you're having to forward those claims to. You see, with most other billing software, you'll have to set up with a clearinghouse. There's probably a dozen of them out there that you could set up with. These are third-party companies that take that data from you electronically, scrub it clean to make sure that the errors are not there, and then forward it on to the insurance companies the way each one of them want to see it. They all want to see it a little differently, so they format it for you. And there's a charge for that. With our system, we don't send it to any third party. We are the clearinghouse. It's built into the iClaim system. And so if that's why our rejection rate is less than 2%. We know that because we handle it. The buck stops here.
Yep.
And that's pretty unique that's in the market out there.
You bet. So folks, if you haven't seen the way that our system works, get back with your business coach here. We'll actually do a demonstration in showing you how this is going to work all together, which is going to help the doctors get paid in a better format. So how this is really going to work is after the doctor gets through seeing you, I mean, everybody's been to the doctor, so you know that this doctor's going to see you and they're going to create some type of form, whether it is an actual piece of paper as we're looking at right now, or whether it is an electronic format, which is electronic medical records. Whichever way, Patrick, that information, and I think that's what you mentioned earlier, the codes are actually being taken care of by the doctor that gets sent over to someone who might be doing their billing, whether it's an employee or somebody like one of our ABS licensees.
Yeah, I mean, everybody gets one of those. I went to the doctor this morning and got the form there that you see. They call it a super bill or a day sheet. Anyway, it has codes on there, numbers that the doctor circles. This is what I found wrong with the patient. This is what I did for the patient, the procedure codes. And all you're doing is basically entering that into our system. Well, the neat thing is, Eric, go back to that previous slide and we'll talk about the EMRX. That's our electronic medical records system.
Sure.
The doctor, when they're seeing the patient, can actually be putting the codes in for you in the EMRX electronic medical records right there on their computer screen and their laptop or iPad like you see there. And there, it's in there. And so all you're doing is going in and completing and forwarding the claim to the correct insurance company, and that's how it gets paid.
You bet.
Yeah, it's pretty neat that you don't have to worry about knowing anything about those codes.
You bet, yeah, and it's going to go right into the system. It's like we're showing you and displaying to you right now as best we can, is that the clearinghouse being inside there's no middle person between the billing system and that insurance company, as you kind of see to the right of the screen here. We're able to take everything internally and create these claims here. Let me kind of show this to you in a couple of slides. And again, if you'd like to get a full understanding of how this works, get with your business coach and we'll do a demo. I think, Patrick, we already have a couple set up. I think Adam's got one and we've got some set up for some other folks here for next week. We're going to be doing some demos, so we'd love to do some more. So get back with us. We'd love to show this to you really in live format. But so these are just screenshots. And so whenever you're doing these billing things, you're just going to go up there where it says billing and go over to claims and go over where it says professional claim charges. And as Patrick mentioned to you, when you go see the doctor's going to say, okay, you got a cough, and then they're going to put it into some type of code, as you can see down there, that R05. Patrick, I know that, again, the doctors can write it on a piece of paper, or it comes, like you mentioned earlier, through our EMRX. That could actually come in there electronically, which is so cool. And the biller doesn't even have to touch that part of it. It's coming in just like what we're looking at right now.
Yeah.
And then the other codes, which is what they call the procedure codes. And it's going to show the dates of service and then what that particular procedure that they did, whether it's just the office visit or an injection, and then the cost comes out over there. And then at the end, you're going to click on Create Claim, and you've created the claim. And once that claim gets created, it's ready to be sent to the insurance company. Not anything outside of that, other than just looking at what we're able to show you right here. So it's going straight to the insurance companies. And I think, Patrick, we've talked about typically our doctors are getting paid within less than 2 weeks right now, which instead of 30 or 60 days out, a lot of our licensees are winning there with their doctors.
So we get them more money, we get them the money faster. Again, folks, there's nothing to, people ask me, well, how hard is it to sell the doctor on this? You'll see, folks, that the way we do this is we educate the doctor. All they need to do is understand that it's cheaper to do it outside to you, sending it to you, and they want to use the latest technology. They just don't, they've not found a system that is real time like ours is. Now, when we say real time, folks, this literally is done over the internet, just like you do your banking online and it's in real time. And when you push a button, things happen. This is all happening in real time. So even though what Eric went through might be a little scary at first when you first look at software, this is all covered in the class in the first day. We have laptops right there in the classroom that we go through, and you're filing claims the very first day of that class, that 5-day class.
You bet.
It's not rocket science. It's not even brain surgery.
Patrick, before we go to our last final question here, here's another question that just came in from Quincy. It's sort of a long question here, so I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to read it out loud, and then I'll let you answer it. And it says here, if licensees are responsible for going out and finding their own clients, having trouble understanding why such a large association fee is associated with ABS to get started, there are a number of billing companies out there that can represent without associated fees to learn. So trying to understand value proposition. You want to kind of tackle that one? I know it's a long question there, but it's a good question from Quincy. I think it's a great question for everybody to kind of hear and understand.
Yeah, Quincy, it's the difference between just going out and getting a job, as a representative for a company and making a small commission versus owning your own business. They might pay you 10%. Well, you're going to make 50% or more on this because it's just your time, the time for doing the billing. Now, maybe you don't even want to do the billing. If you're interested, Quincy, in just doing the marketing, believe me, we've got licensees that are ready to engage with you and just hire you to do that. But most people who come to our webinars have looked at our website and decided, you know what, it's time for me to start my own business. Right. And when you do that, you're the guy in charge. You're the guy that's going to keep most of the profits. So it could be the difference between you making, $20,000 a year and $100,000 a year because you're keeping the profits because it's your business. So I hope that helps explain that.
Well, I think another thing that he's asking here is, why the big investment of the $26,990? What's the value proposition? People can go out there and just go start their own medical billing company and not spend $27,000 or $30,000. Why would they want to do it here with ABS?
Well, look, you know how to make a sandwich, don't you? But why does Subway sell $70,000 franchises? It's because people want a system that's been proven to work. Now, it doesn't mean, Quincy, that you couldn't go out on the internet and find somebody that would sell you some software. You could order that book that I mentioned earlier from Entrepreneur and learn all you can about this business. People have done that. And we're not saying you couldn't do that. It's just that's why franchises, if you do your research, you'll find out that most franchises have a fee up front for the training and the support and the development of all the marketing materials. We've done all that for you. Believe me, you can spend a whole lot more than $27,000 just coming up with the books, for example, that we provide to you for marketing purposes.
Yeah, and I think the training, the support, because another thing, Quincy, that we do, as we mentioned earlier, we do these live presentations for you to kind of see how the software works. But another piece of support is that we actually do that for you with your potential doctor. So we answer all the questions of the doctor because we want you to help get that doctor. So and I know what you're asking, Quincy. You're trying to figure out what's the value proposition. Why would I want to spend $30,000 or just less than $30,000 and do this? Get back with your business coach because again, that's some of the things that some of those value things that obviously we don't have all the time this afternoon to get into. And I tell you yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say these webinars, we were limited to about an hour on these webinars each week. But folks, we have recorded webinars that cover every aspect of this business out there on our website. Just go to our website, absystems.com, and click on the news tab at the top and then blog, and you'll see that we've got a wealth of information out there for educating yourself on all this.
You bet. I know there's some more questions coming in, but we're going to ask this last big question here, the third big question there, and that is how much money can I earn? Now, I know there's some questions coming in here, and David, I love your question because we're actually going to answer that question a little bit this afternoon, but actually we're going to answer that question that you're asking, and I'm not going to say it because I want everybody to kind of stay tuned to it. We're actually going to answer your question in our webinar next Wednesday. So just hang on, everybody. We're gonna give you that little secret of what the question that David asked right there. So Patrick, how much can I earn in medical revenue management?
You know what? I tell people you can earn as little as you want to earn, and you can earn as much as you want to earn. That's the great thing about owning your own business. If you get up in the morning and you're not making enough money, you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, you know what? You need to work a little harder today so you can earn a little bit more. Now, having said that, the disclaimer here, folks, as we go through this is that not everybody makes the kind of money that we're talking about here. It's just like anything. It's like those weight loss ads you see on TV. Not everybody lost 105 pounds. You know, there are people who make less money than what we'll talk about today, but there's people who've made a lot more than what we're talking about as well. So
yeah, so
it's big, as you'll see.
Yeah, so one of the things that you can go look where your ROI, your return on your investment, your potential return on investment, go over to our website, absystems.com, go to income potential right there in the middle part of there, and then go to where it says medical billing income calculator. Now, the reason we're going to show this to you so that you put your numbers in, what you want to try to accomplish. So Patrick, we're going to deal with just one doctor. And then the number of patients that we're going to set for this doctor is 25, because that's the typical number, give or take, you know, a little bit on both sides of 25. They're going to be open 5 days a week, and we're going to charge them a 6% claim fee or 6% amount for each claim of $100. So, folks, you can see there, we're going to charge 6%. And the average claim amount for this particular doctor is right about $100. That's your typical.
I wished I knew of a doctor that charged as little as $100 for a visit nowadays. But this makes the math easy. So Eric did this because the math, it makes it much easier to round it out.
What you're going to be able to make with this one doctor, and I'm going to hit submit there, and then it shows a yearly gross income. Again, we have a disclaimer down there. But, you know, typically it's going to produce about $39,000 a year with one office.
Yeah, and of course you have some overhead, but folks, most of this is your labor.
Yes.
So that's why this is a huge markup in this business, because there's not a whole lot of cost involved. It's mostly your labor. And so if you can make $3,250 monthly income off of one doctor, then you've made back. That's more than our license fee. Our license fee, again, is about $27,000. Folks, with one doctor that is typical, you can make $39,000 in a year's time. So I ask people, Eric, just how many doctors do you need to make the kind of income you want to make?
Right. Yeah, you can actually go over to Income Potential and kind of look at what you put the number you want to make, and then you'll know how many doctors that you want to be able to go look at. So what we thought we'd do, we'd break this down because, you know, Patrick, I know people, because people are like you and me. I know that.
Right.
Because we would want to know, how did they get to those numbers? Where's that smoke and mirrors?
Let's start with 25 patients a day. The doctor I went to this morning, I'll bet there were 35 patients sitting there waiting to see the doctor. Now, there's a couple of providers there in that particular clinic, but the point is, it's pretty easy for a doctor, a general practitioner at least, to see 25 patients per day. That's no big deal. So this is a very realistic number. Some of them see many more than that. The chiropractor can see 50 patients a day.
Oh gosh, yeah. So for you folks out there want to know how the math was done, this is for you. This is exactly for you. So you got your 25 patients, and each one of those patients is $100. So guess what? At the end of the day, the doctor thinks in their mind, I made $2,500 a day. That's pretty simple math. I mean, that's just what it gets down to. So then what we're going to do, we're going to take that $2,500 per day. And remember, you're going to be charging 6%. So 6% of $2,500 a day, your average daily earnings are going to be about $150 per day. So there's where this math is coming in. And this is the best part of it. You've worked probably less than an hour and a half for that.
Yeah. No, you can hear the interviews when I ask that question, how much time does it take to perform one claim? Most people will say it's 2 minutes or less.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 25 claims at 90 minutes is sorry, my phone's right here on this desk. It's less than, usually it's less than an hour. So then you take that, we're going to take this 6%, that $150 a day. You're going to take that and times that by 5 days a week. So remember we said, you know, the 25 patients a day, $100, open 5 days a week. So you're taking your money, you're at $750 a week times 52 weeks. There's your $39,000 per doctor per year for that particular earning. So that's what we wanted to show you. So we wanted to demystify how we got to that number on our income potential, so you kind of get that. So now you can go do your own math and try to figure out how many doctors you want. How about you want 3 doctors? We could bump that up. But Patrick, why not look at this and maybe look at this with these 3 doctors, same amount of money. Only number we changed here was the number 3. Same amount of patients they're going to see a day, same 5 days a week, 6%, $100. We'll look at that, and everybody wants to know, how can I break that magic 6-digit figure? And you just did it with 3 doctors.
That's it, with 3 offices. That's right. And some offices have more than 1 doctor in them.
Right.
I just interviewed somebody last week that had an office that had 6 doctors in that one office. So that's why it's a very profitable business. This guy, by the way, Phil, you know, remember he was working this very part-time, had another, you know, opportunity. He was doing a business that he was working in. And he said, once I realized I signed up that first doctor, I thought, man, I need to focus on this full time. There's some money to be made here. It becomes real after you start getting your first check.
You're right. I'm looking at our clock here. You and I have really been very good about keeping up with our questions, but we got about 12 more minutes. And I know we wanted to show how we add in some of these other services. Now, we call these our ancillary services. We call them ancillary just because you're going to make some money off of these. And some you'll make more, some you make a little less. But we thought we would take the 3 doctors that we just set out there of looking at, okay, you just made $117,000 just in the billing part of that. Now let's add in a few of these, some of these ancillary services that you really could be doing with these doctors. So I thought we would start off with Quick Collect, because this has to do with past due accounts. And I know a lot of doctors, as a licensee takes over a doctor's office, they're going to have some past due accounts.
Oh, yeah. And folks, you don't become a collector. This is replacing the need for a collection agency, because this is an online real-time service that goes out and sends out letters and so forth to follow up on the money that the doctor has not been paid. It's all automated, and it brings in 3 times what the typical collection agency would normally collect.
Right.
So in fact, Eric, it's like, I remember this because the numbers can be reversed. The typical collection agency for a medical doctor would collect only about 14% of the past due money. This collects 41%. You switch those numbers around. 41% collection, right, which is huge, because most doctors are writing off half of what they bill to patients anyway.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to take those same 3 doctors, and let's say that these 3 doctors have at least 24, we'll call them accounts, 24 accounts with each of these doctors that are past due. And then we're going to show you what you can make off of those there. So I'm going to put this screen up here so you can see that. So we'll say Quick Collect for 3 doctors, each having 24 accounts per month that you're collecting, helping that doctor collect. Because remember, it's going to go, you're going to see this about every month there, especially when you finally get this doctor caught up there. But the potential is you're making $7.50 per those accounts. So again, you take the 24 times 3, that's where you get the 72 accounts per month. That's going to make you another $540 a month or $6,400 a year added on to that $17,000. So remember, we're going to keep all this math together here pretty quickly. I know that there's some doctors that need help, some marketing help, Patrick, and AutoCard is that solution for them. And again, another way for our licensees to make some extra cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, this one is terrific. Eric, I wish I'd have thought of this one myself. This is an online system that sends out really printed full color cards, postcards and greeting cards in the mail to the patients for their follow-up visits. And most doctors don't use anything like this, but this can increase their number of patients monthly.
Yeah, and so again, you take those same 3 doctors, and let's say they're going to send out about 200 cards a month each. That's 600 cards mailed out a month. And you think, really, a doctor's going to send out 200 cards to their patients? It could be birthdays. It could be mammogram reminders. It could be checkups. It could be anything along those lines to add up to that. So you know, give or take 600 cards mailed out a month. You're making $1 per card. So again, obviously, you're making $600. That's $7,200 already added onto that as well. Moving on, iDocs Now is an online cloud-based storage, not to be confused with electronic medical records. But Patrick, these doctors have to keep up their old paper up to 7 and some up to 10 years, and they still need a place to store that.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's all the records that you see behind the doctor. You've seen them there in that picture. Those records can all be turned into electronic documents that can be searched and saved and printed and used by anyone in the office that has a login to our system. And so it's a wonderful thing. In fact, in our office, if you ever come visit us, you won't see any paper. We scan everything into the system and have it accessed. I can access it from home on my phone. It's a wonderful way to access records.
So again, let's look at the money on this one. Take those same 3 doctors. Each of those doctors are using iDocs Now. You're making $100 per account there. That's another $3,600 a year, $300 a month.
And folks, all these services, by the way, are almost hands off. That is, we call it mailbox money. You literally go to your mailbox and get the check for these services. So this is just gravy on top of the billing that you'll do for doctors.
Yeah, you bet. Audit Guard. Now, folks, someone asked earlier, I can't remember who it was, but asking about coding. And here's one of those coding things. Doctors could be up under audits anytime. And so what this does, it kind of does like what we call a pre-audit. Making sure that the doctors are not out of sync or out of whack on that. This one you can really make some money on, Patrick. I mean, yes, it's going to cost the doctors about $900 to get this thing done per review, but Patrick, that could save that doctor thousands of dollars in fines.
Yes, it's like paying $900 a year for insurance against being audited, and as you saw on the previous screen, doctors can be audited and fined up to $10,000 per infraction.
Yeah, and that could be with Medicare, it could be with Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, it could be with any of them. So that's why sometimes we suggest it could be 4 times a year that we actually look at that. But that could add another $10,000 a year on that. Right. Then the last one that we're going to take a look at here is just the simple coding. If the doctors do need some coding done, again, each doctor needed that type of done. Again, give or take some of this, but again, that could be another $7,200. So, you know what? I know, Patrick, we've got about 5 more minutes. I know we kind of ran through these numbers here kind of quickly, so I'm gonna throw them up all over there so that you can kind of run through this, Patrick.
Yeah, so as you can see, we took each one of those, if you made off the billing, the 117,000 that we showed earlier, and then if you had each of these services installed in your clients, three clients is what these are based on, there's your $152,280 a year. Folks, that's more than some doctors earn in today's marketplace. So the potential is there. Again, our disclaimer is that not everybody's going to make that kind of money, but folks, I've interviewed licensees who said that they make more than that, providing these services for doctors in their area. So, yeah. Eric, I'm sorry I have to run. As you know, I have a 5 o'clock call that I always do. And so, folks, thanks for being here. I hope I see you at one of our upcoming live training workshops. Eric's going to tell you about that right now.
You bet. Thank you.